This is the Atlanta Season 3, Episode 5 review, Cancer Attack. This week, we're circling back to Ern, Al, Darius, Socks, and Van Stum in Budapest, Hungary for a show Paperboy has to put on. More of Ern's growth as a manager is seen here as he's verifying the writer for the show, asking for Ginger Ale to be replaced by Ginger Beer, even though it seems like it's not that big of a deal. Whatever's on your writer typically goes. So making sure that's straight. Although minuscule, it's pretty big of him to actually, think about those finite details. But shout out to y'all who actually like ginger beer, because, I mean, just no. Just no. Ern also books a meet and greet for Al, which is very Make a Wish like. Specifically, was the Dream Foundation, an opportunity where a young fan, in this case, little Marvy, who suffers from cancer, gets a chance to meet Paperboy before the show and hang out backstage with him just for a little bit. In this moment, Al places his phone down on the coffee table before getting up to meet Marvy at the door. That's the last time we ever see his phone, is on that coffee table. In the hustle and bustle of it all, Ern decides to text Van on, where she at, where you whereabouts at, because she hasn't been around the crew in about a week or so. And where we last left off, she was kind of in that finding herself mode. So, I mean, we essentially kind of know what it is, but for them not to be talking in a sense of, we're international, not just, you're down the street or anything, a little bit concerning. And of course, that's his baby mom. He's not going to be so disconnected that he doesn't care about what she's doing and if she's okay. But we're gonna fast forward that because he gets no reply just yet. Ern is still managing everything before the show. He seems, like he has it all down packed and everything. He's still kind of bothered by not getting a response from Van and is kind of annoyed even further by security checking his backstage pass again. Despite knowing that he is Al's manager, it's just, again, microaggressions sprinkled throughout Europe because, yeah, it's there, but they just pretend like it isn't. It's just a part of everyday life, put it that way. So he perseveres despite the nuisance and completes the run of show with the security team. And he's actually doing a good job of running around, making sure everything is set to go before Paperboy hits the stage. So we go back to Paperboy, who wraps up his meet and greet with Marvy, and he then gives him a bottle of pure white. This is completely black. This is the blackest thing he's done on this show. But Marvy and his parents didn't object. They took the bottle and just, went along their way to go watch the show. Al and Ern, they kind of have a little moment there where Ern is on his job and is solving every one of Al's problems before he can even finish his statements. He has a solution. Al then asks him, like, yo, how are you? Because, I've noticed you've been real busy. They don't even really fully complete that conversation because he's off to sound check before he can even give him a proper response. So that's typically how production is. You're on the go. And I definitely love that environment. But you see that there is a breakdown in communication among them because Ern has been ridiculously busy or making himself busy despite everything else that's going on. He's essentially going through it without facing it yet. And typically when you do that, it's a build up and then something pops and then, it's kind of bad. So you kind of got to release eventually. Sometimes. Vent. Darius himself, Darius is just a complete vibe. Everybody needs someone that hypes you up and grounds you at the same time, like Darius does. It'll even bark for you in prayer, like DMX. It's great. It was amazing. Like sometimes he can be on one or extra, but you can't really deny he always comes through in the end. Eventually. It might take him some time to get to that solution. It might not be fast tracked as Earns are, but he does hold down everybody individually. And despite all that chaos that's going on and everybody preparing for the show, he has the blueprints to the actual venue that they're in and is planning a map adventure because apparently there are rooms that are in the building that are not mapped and he wants to go explore, kind of like a little ghost hunting adventure. Which, I mean, he got to keep busy somehow because other than making sure that they're fine and okay, what else is he doing? He's off in his world. It's Darius. We don't really question his motives or what he's specifically doing. He just does it. We live with it. And it's great. So as they're preparing for Paperboy to go onto the stage, Wiley, which is the first time we meet him, he crashes the stage right before he goes up. It was a random moment of him hyping up the crowd that nobody really asked for. So it was kind of like, yo, what are you doing? Get out of here. He obliges and runs off and does whatever, which is like, okay, so who is that? But yeah, Paperboy goes on the stage, performs, does well. The music was on point this episode. I will point that out as well. And we're blessed with Darius going off and dancing backstage as Paperboy opens the show. After the show, this is when Al realizes he lost his phone. So typically, even when it comes to real life situations of losing things, it's always when you're preoccupied and you're not paying attention really that something like this tends to happen. We all know this sense of panic and dread when you lose something, but if it's vital as your phone, which today I think a lot of people would agree that it is their lifeline, that's a lot. You can feel the panic and anxiety just filling in your chest, even though you didn't lose your phone, or probably holding your phone right now, texting or doing whatever. But yeah, imagining losing that or something that is as important as your phone. The crew is doing everything from retracing his steps, calling the phone, but it's going straight to voicemail, and turning over the green room. And if your phone goes straight to voicemail after losing it, it's kind of done deal. It's typically one of two scenarios. Either one, dummy, your battery's dead, or two, kiss your SIM and your phone goodbye, because at that point it's been compromised. So they're not sure of what case it is at this point, but Earn takes it upon himself to question when Al had his phone last, and they accuse little Marvy of grabbing it when they left the meet and greet. So the rest of the crew is validating this theory from him being a big fan and it will make the most sense. And yeah, I mean, even though he's dying, they still like it was just bad making it make sense that he would want the phone. So Marvy, it was found out that he was taken out of the concert due to having a cancer attack, whatever that is. So Earn runs quickly because he's with the ambulance at that point, finds him on the ambulance gurney, and silently searches him for the phone without even saying, like, yo, did you take Paperboy's phone? Did any of you guys happen to pick it up? Just lifts the boy's legs up and looks for the phone, which is terrible. Marvy doesn't have it. He gets booed by the crowd that was outside watching. Deservedly so, because he kind of did violate. It was funny, though. Al reinforces the sentiment that it's not really about the phone, it's about its content. So going back, I know some of y'all were thinking, well, what about backups? And Darius immediately shuts that down and says, we don't do iCloud. Which obviously to each his own. If you feel like putting your data in the cloud and trusting it, cool. As somebody that's within the realm of files, design, production, and all that stuff, audio, video, and things like that, I am a believer in backups, physical as well as the cloud. So you will never hear from me that I don't do iCloud, but cloud backups, yes, that's a thing. You gotta do it. In his scenario and case, it would kind of make sense, but I feel like this is probably a nugget for the travel episode, but I might as well say it now. Why not? Typically, when you travel internationally, get you a burner. And when I say that, it doesn't have to be a fully fleshed out feature phone like your normal iPhone or your Samsung device. Something that you can use literally to call A to B, put a SIM in, take some decent pictures if you're into that. If you're not, whatever. But essentially a temporary lifeline so you're not having to deal with your personal primary phone when you're traveling, because that feeling right there is one that you do not want to experience. Losing your phone is one thing. If it's in the crib, cool, I can toss some things over, maybe in the kitchen. Oh, not there. Let me go back downstairs. You have the sense of security that it's within your area. But losing something internationally, whole different level of anxiety. Random tidbit, but put it in your pocket. Socks continues to accuse others and now blames the stage manager's nephew, Wiley. He deems it as sketchy to have taken the phone because he was kind of meandering around asking people questions and just not really being a nuisance, but he was just there. So it was just another suspect. Again, the nerve of Socks and his hairline. It's ridiculous at this point. Uncle Stage Manager does not have his nephew Wiley's phone number, and he has to go and ask a rigger on set because I would have to call his dad. Like, I don't know his number. And, weird. I'm just keep calling that weird because I was like, there's no way this guy is his uncle throughout the whole time watching this. So Earn has a complete lack of patience and it just steals the nephew's resume. He gets his phone number off of there so they can call him. And the crew gets together, calls Wiley to invite him back to the rap presentation. That sounds so proper. so they can interrogate him about his phone. This almost goes smooth and according to plan, but Socks, again, in his bad hairline, grabs the phone and turns it to the white Liam Neeson and decides to say that, they're going to kill him and do all this rest of this craziness rather than sounding like a sound gentleman to get him back into the venue. Despite all of that, Wiley does make it back, and they do have the opportunity to interrogate him. During this whole back and forth interrogation, Wiley drops some key information by reciting Paperboy's unreleased lyrics that one would only know if they had Paperboy's phone. Specifically, about a box top Chevy and Rose, his high school girlfriend. So it just continues to go downhill from here. It's one of those episodes that is just like, yo, really? And this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. But it's a good journey. It's not one of those filler type episodes where you're not fulfilled with laughter and some sort of feeling. It continues to go downhill. Wiley then implies that Earn talks white. It says people just want to be seen no matter what for. I think we can all agree on that sentiment, but it was just kind of like, oh, okay, he understands where he comes from. He knows his background. Why are you pointing this out? But yeah, that was strange. To further throw them off, he stalls and asks for a cigarette, never having smoked before, wastes her time even more, and almost gets beat up. Then asks for to make his one phone call as if he's in jail. Like, you're not in captivity, you're fine. He recites the phone number because he still claims that he does not have a phone, only to give them Paperboy's home number. More chaos ensues, of course, as you can imagine, as Wiley's guts churn. Now, we even got to go into detail with that. He lost himself. His uncle's stage manager finally starts taking up for him, saying, oh, he's only 19, he's a scared kid, blah, blah, blah. You know the excuses that they use. And Wiley claims he's 32. So yes, I knew the kid was not his nephew. He is, but through marriage. So the connection that, typically we think of when it's like, oh, it's my nephew. That wasn't there. He not by blood. We're just going to leave it at that. So Socks and his bad hairline strike again, almost dropping the N-word, but catches himself, unfortunately not quick enough because we all noticed, and runs off without consequence. They return to talk to Wiley again, eventually one-on-one with Paperboy this time, where he admits to suffering from writer's block and feeling a bit lost with life. And creative block in general is hell to deal with. It's not fun, obviously. So I felt that. But he's in a situation that he had no idea the trajectory of. In his moment of awakening, when he heard himself, aka his calling, I'm gonna get a little bit spiritual on you guys. And he recorded a melody on his phone. This is the value, the urgency, the anxiety, not the worth of the phone. Nobody cares about losing the actual phone. It's the contents. So then we get a musical number from Wiley because we love musicals on TV. This moment was significant because Wiley reveals that he and Paperboy are pretty similar, share similarities within their life stories, yet they're worlds away from one another. It touches your boy Paperboy a little bit through its metaphor and prose, but I do expect to see some more growth from Paperboy because we tend to kind of just, get the one aspect of him rapping, their hijinks and everything. We don't really get to see that side of the character development of him. So it'll be interesting to gain a little bit more of that. So finally, the crew loads up in the tour bus, completely defeated. No map adventure for Darius. Al's phone is lost. And Earn receiving a thumbs up from Van after constantly checking in. Yeah, she good. The episode ends with Socks, the sucker. That's his official name, Socks the sucker, until he leaves them alone and does not bother them on their Euro trip adventure anymore. He gonna be Socks the sucker with the bad hairline. It ends with him revealing that he had the phone all along in his pocket and decides to throw it away and boards the bus. And they're off. The crew was on a whole Scooby-Doo mystery this episode. I enjoyed it. It reminded me of season 1, the jacket episode, which was the finale. That's when Earn loses his jacket and we go on that adventure. Such a good episode and a wrap to a season. But yeah, another great episode. Until next week, peace.